fact, millions more Americans are awake and engaged now versus 2020. Observation and participation changes things. Will there still be bad actors? Yes. Are there still problems? Absolutely. But can we eclipse those problems by standing together now and doing the right thing? I think the answer to that is yes.
Hello, everybody. Andrew Muller here, the Chief of Operations for Liberty Sentinel Media. We want to share this video out, a compilation video of the nation's premier election integrity experts being interviewed by Liberty Sentinel's very own CEO and journalist extraordinaire, Alex Newman, talking about the problems with our elections and, more importantly, how we can bring back election integrity. Now, we know the presidential election is coming up in just a few days, but this is a conversation we need to have looking at November 5th and beyond, because this issue is, of course, going to be very prominent in the November 5th presidential election, but it's going to be something that sticks with us for this election and elections ahead of us. So let's check out this compilation of really the best hits of election integrity interviews that Alex Newman has conducted here at the Liberty Sentinel. Check it out.
I don't know anybody who understands this problem better than our next guest, Jay Valentine. He's the Vice President of Operations for fractalweb.app. He actually led the team that built the eBay fraud detection engine and the TSA no-fly list. The organization that he is working with now is really at the cutting edge of trying to fix our elections system. Jay himself is a graduate of the School of Foreign Service at Georgetown University, a very prestigious place. He majored in economics, econometrics, statistics, and computer science. And since 2021, Jay and his team have been applying fractal technology. Jay, welcome to the program. Thanks so much for joining us. Let's start just with an overview of the problem. I want to get into the technology and how we fix it. But start off just by telling us, how bad are the voter rolls and what does that mean for the 2024 election?
In every one of the swing states have between 500,000 in each of the swing states except Pennsylvania. And in Pennsylvania, 1.4 million, actually more than that in every one of the states. They have that many ballots that are illegitimate ballots tied to an illegitimate address. So for instance, you have a guy named Phineas, and Phineas looks like a voter on the voter roll, but he's not. Phineas is may or may not have once been a real person. But when we cross-check Phineas's address, it's a Walmart, it's a gas station, it is an empty building that is going to accumulate ballots that were set up by NGOs, non-governmental organizations. Those ballots will be sent out. They will be collected by these non-governmental organizations. They will then be filled in by these organizations, and all 500,000 in every swing state will be voted against President Trump. We can see them right now. We can log on to our system and we can show you every one of these addresses and the voters tied to it, and everyone is going to vote against President Trump.
Yeah, that is terrifying, Jay. There's so many things I want to ask you about. We'll get to the Trump campaign in a moment. But first of all, explain to us a little bit. I know it's probably going to go over most of our heads, but explain to us a little bit about this fractal technology that you guys have been applying to these voter rolls. How does it work? How did you come to these conclusions?
Well, all of the secretaries of state today, every major voter integrity team, and every Secretary of State in America today uses a 1970s and a 1980s technology called relational database. It's what everybody uses. It's called the current technology stack. All of the major corporations will tell you that if you want to do advanced artificial intelligence, you cannot use relational databases. You have to use quantum technology. Now, there are 100 companies out there today that deliver quantum technology. We are one of 100 companies. We're the only ones, however, that have applied it to voter rolls. What is quantum? Quantum operates from 1,000 to 1,000,000 times faster than any current technology in the world. Why is that important? Because we can do things in quantum. We can see things you can't see with current relational technology. Well, for example, we did the voter rolls in Utah or in Michigan. We did the voter rolls in Wisconsin. And for 30 years, voter integrity teams never saw that these 3,000 students who were voting from a college have been voting for 25 years. Well, we could do time series analysis and do that. When we did it in Mississippi, we showed their Secretary of State stuff he hasn't seen in 20 years. We have embarrassed virtually every major national voter integrity organization because we've shown that they're missing all of these illegal alien ballot mills that are accumulating. Well, why can we see them and they can't? Because we don't take one snapshot of a voter roll, we take 20. So I see a voter roll on day one and 6 weeks later and 6 weeks after that. I might look at 20 voter rolls. I compare every cell in every voter roll all the time. I can do this daily, and I can show you people aggregating at an empty building. Well, those are not people just going there. That's an NGO ballot mill registering illegal aliens. And we're the only people in America who can see this.
Now, we got to know, what can an everyday average person, there's a lot of people watching this out there, grandmas, housewives, just regular everyday people. They don't have big money or big connections, but they want to be involved in ensuring that we have a fair election in 2024. Obviously, go to the website, omegaforamerica.com. What can people do?
Follow us on Substack. So we have a Substack, omegaforamerica.com.substack.com. And when you go to Omega for America, you can sign up for our Substack. It's free. The people who put money into our Substack one, we give that to animal rescue charities. Follow us on Substack because we have groups that are coming up in every state, not just the swing states, because Trump's probably going to lose 2024 because of the RNC. He's probably going to lose it because we may not get there in time. I think we will, but I'm telling you, they're making it pretty hard for us. But this is not going to end in 2024. We're doing this in 2025. We're working with state legislators in almost every state who want to do audits of those voter rolls, and they're being fought by their secretaries of state. So follow us on Substack. And we're getting groups organized in a lot of the states around people who use our technology. Hopefully we can stop this in 2024, but we're not going to stop our project. We're going to keep going.
Wow. I encourage everybody to go do that right now. Go sign up for the Substack. It's at America.com, Omega4America.com. Jay, you said something really troubling right now. You just kind of threw it out and passed right over it. You think this fraud is so huge that it's going to cost Donald Trump the 2024 election. Is it possible we can get this fixed in time? And if so, how does that happen?
The only thing we can do to help President Trump between now and the election is to stop mail-in ballots to illegitimate addresses. Well, let's take a number. In Wisconsin, Trump will win or lose Wisconsin by 20,000 votes. We can stop a majority of 500,000 ballots that are arrayed today against him, which we can see today in Fractal. So you tell me, if stopping 400,000 to 500,000 ballots in a state where he could win or lose by 20,000, that is the equation you should think of. Trump will spend $100 million in any state in America to move 1% of the vote. We can move 4 to 7% of the vote in any state in America with the fractal system, and we can prove it. So yeah, I think we can do a lot, but I think if Trump does not, and if people around Trump do not stop these mail-in ballots from going out, once they go out, Trump's 100,000 vote counters ain't going to help a bit.
Well, very sobering, Jay, and I really appreciate you coming on the program. I appreciate all that you guys are doing. We're out of time, but Omega4America.com is the website. Any final thoughts before we let you go?
Well, that's it. People want to help out, join our Substack, and we are doing everything we can. We're working around the clock here with teams in every one of the swing states, and now would be a good time to say your prayers.
Amen. Jay Valentine, Vice President of Operations for fractalweb.app. You can find him at Omega4America.com. Thank you, sir, for all that you're doing, and thank you for joining us today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Now we have news that bizarre algorithms are being found in voting systems all across the United States, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Hawaii, Arizona. It is truly a sight to behold. And joining us to discuss, we have Jerome Corsi, Dr. Jerome Corsi. He is a co-founder of God's Five Stones. He's got a PhD from Harvard University, although we won't hold that against him. He has published over 30 books on everything you can think of: economics, climate change, history, politics. He is an incredibly talented individual, so I'm glad he's lending his brilliant mind now to this critical effort to try to get our elections sorted out going into this very consequential election. We also have Karladine Graves, Dr. Karladine Graves. She's a co-founder of God's Five Stones as well. She's a medical doctor. She has been instrumental. A lot of her work is behind the scenes, but she does so much for our country. I can't even begin to tell you everything that she has done, even just in recent years, to protect our freedom. So I'm very grateful to you both. Thank you for joining us. Guys, let's start with Ohio. I understand that there was some initial action, an official process was launched, and now it seems like we're having some foot dragging. Walk us into the problem and how it's being manifested in Ohio.
Well, we filed an official complaint with the Ohio Secretary of State's office, that's Frank LaRose, and they began an investigation looking into the mail-in ballot fraud that is perpetrated by these algorithms, these cryptographic codes that we found in the database in many states now, and an increasing number of states. And Ohio clearly has these codes embedded in the database of the voter registration file maintained by the State Board of Elections. And these schemes allow for the creation of voters that don't exist, non-existent voters, who can then be, like a marked card scheme, they can be embedded back into the database, so only the criminals who devise the scheme know where those cards are. They get official state IDs, even though they're non-existent voters, because of the way that they're sorted into the cards initially. They just look like regular people wanting to get a legitimate voter ID, but yet they're completely fabricated. And Ohio began the investigation and then began dragging its heels. It began saying, well, show us an actual voter who committed fraud and we'll go after it. Well, the voter who committed fraud, or the person who committed fraud, is the person who designed this algorithm and put it into the Ohio State database. And that's the crime right there. That should not be there. So I wrote an article today on American Thinker, which is really saying that this is that you have to take seriously the fact that these algorithms exist, because they have if you want to take preventative measures, or if you're going to ignore systemic risks to fraud that are in the database with an algorithm that shouldn't be there, it had to have been an intelligence agency quality of algorithm in terms of its complexity. So it's a professional job, and it had to be done from the inside. It doesn't take very many people to have embedded this algorithm or to utilize it, because you can draw, as you need to, fake voters. Say this person wants a mail-in ballot, and they run through the mail-in ballot through the system. And because the numbers match, the voter IDs, that's a certifiable vote, even though the person doesn't exist. And in some states like New York, there's maybe 300,000 of these fake voters, certainly enough to flip major elections. And we can see this happening when voting is stopped, and then suddenly, when it started again in the morning, this huge number of ballots come in for the Democratic candidate, and they go on to win. And so again, the question is whether or not this algorithmic scheme, is there for nefarious purposes. And I think the Ohio State officials, just like the officials in every state we're looking at, are beginning to bear legal, both civil and criminal possibly, liabilities if they're put on notice that these algorithms exist in their state database and they don't take corrective measures. They let them be there and think it's all going to go away. It's not going to go away. The algorithms are provable by mathematical formulas. You can no more than deny the algorithms are there than say the Pythagorean theorem doesn't exist in Euclidean geometry. It does. It's a fact. These algorithms are a fact.
This is disturbing, and a lot of the experts that we have talked to on this program about the upcoming election and the concerns they have, they keep coming back to these fraudulent voters, these phantom voters. illegal immigrants. You've got 1,000 of them registered at a Walmart. You've got 1,000 of them registered at an empty lot. Of course, none of that makes sense, but this generates ballots. And so we keep hearing this, that all the swing states have at least 500,000 of these phantom voters on the rolls, dead people, illegal immigrants, felons, people who moved out of state, people who can't vote anymore. And now you're saying there's an algorithm that generates these things automatically, presumably to send out the fake ballots so that they can stuff the ballot boxes. And then you could count the ballots all day, 10 times, and you'd still get the same result. The cheating candidate won. Karladine, Dr. Graves, I want to turn to you for a minute. What have you guys been hearing in your communications with state officials, Secretary of State? I mean, do they have like an excuse? Like, well, that algorithm's in there to do X, Y, Z, or do we see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil? Just there's no problem. What are they saying when you confront them with this information?
It's more the latter. That see no evil, speak no evil, hear no evil. I think what they are concerned about is that if they truly see this and they address it, that they will be held accountable. And so in order to avoid that, they just avoid the entire issue. And we are getting the word out, though, and people are understanding this. I also wanted to point out also that this may just not be in the United States. This may be an international type of movement, because we've certainly seen something very similar in Venezuela, Brazil, France. And so this may not be just within the United States. This might be international, across the entire world, that want to steal elections.
Yeah, this is scary. And, you look at the website you guys have, God's 5 Stones, which I believe is an allusion to David when he took down Goliath. Woohoo! But you've got a lot of information here about how this works. You've got the data. You've got charts showing what you're talking about. I mean, this seems pretty clear to me. It seems very, very disturbing to me. And, of course, we're very close to the election now. I mean, we are like 3 weeks away from this election. Talk us through the battle plan here going forward. What is the plan? Can this be stopped in the run-up to the election? I mean, some states you've got early voting. If it hasn't started, it's just around the corner. Can this be stopped in time to deal with this?
Well, I think there's time to stop a lot of it in terms of, there's several solutions to this. Number one is just get a overwhelming turnout. People shouldn't be discouraged. Say the election system's rigged, why should I bother voting? In this case, the more people that vote, you get a huge number that vote for Donald Trump, they won't be able to use the algorithms. It'll be too obvious. It just overwhelm the ability to steal an election. Although I still think they'll use the algorithms for down ballot elections. They may decide that they can't save Kamala, but they can capture the House and the Senate. By the way, these algorithms have been in the state databases since 2007 in many cases. So you wonder how many people who are currently in Congress were there by algorithms rather than by being voted into office. I don't know, but it's certainly a legitimate question. And the other solution to this, there was a district court case in Arizona that's drawing a lot of attention. The district court decided that in Arizona in 2022, the one county, Cochise County, did not certify the election, and so therefore the election was certified because the Secretary of State had passed a ruling that any state that didn't certify the election on time, they could ignore, and then certify the whole state and not report Cochise County, which is what was done. And the district court said that disenfranchised all the voters in Cochise County. So any one county in a state with an algorithm that says this needs to be investigated could hold up the certification of that state's entire vote and begin an investigation. I mean, part of this mail-in ballot scheme is a rush to certify, because once you've certified an election, and in fact, the scheme is to get certified false voters that have legitimate state IDs that are entirely made up. These are fictional people. And so therefore, they don't exist. They can't be found. They can be removed from the database. They're like phantoms. And yet they have legitimate IDs. They get certified. If we can slow up the certification, so you could go out with canvassing and find out how many of the mail-in ballots are to people who are not those, they don't exist, or they're not those people, don't live at that address, you could begin discrediting the entire mail-in ballot scheme, which I think is inherently designed to be fraudulent. So we've made a lot of progress just getting people aware. I mean, we found in 7 or 8 states already algorithms. They're just about in every state we're looking at. And I'm thinking that possibly all the states, or the majority of the states, have this algorithm in it. As Karladine points out, it's international. This could be a Five Eyes intelligence operation where the intelligence agencies decide they've been fixing elections around the world for decades. Why not start fixing them in the United States? That's a possibility.
What can everyday people do? What can the people watching this program do or listening to this program do to help stop this? Please tell us more.
If they're working with a candidate, most definitely they need to let the candidate know and go to God's 5 stones, because I like the way that Dr. Corsi has actually framed this. And that is that, and something that people most likely will understand more than they would going to a website and looking at algorithms. And he uses this example, and I really like it, because if you go to a casino and you play with a marked card deck, then that deck, if you can show that it was marked, then you may not owe the house at the casino any money because they used a marked deck. Therefore, candidates can challenge this immediately, even before it's certified, and say, these algorithms are in there. You have a marked deck. I don't think I lost that election, and I want it fixed now and not certified. And that is a powerhouse for us, because as we have seen across the nation, that once it's certified, judges won't touch it and neither will a court. So we need to do this prior. And you need to, if you possibly can get voter rolls, if we need voter rolls, and if we have those voter rolls, well, then we can look at that, because Dr. Paquette has really gotten good at this, and he can identify them much quicker. And therefore, we can actually help the candidates that we know there was no excuse for them to lose an election, but yet they did.
Hey guys, I want to interrupt this video briefly to tell you about 2 great sponsors that help bring free content like this to you, and we really appreciate it if you support and check out our sponsors as they make all of this happen. 2 of them we want to tell you about today. The first one, qpgoatssoap.com. That is qpgoatssoap.com. They have some great products over there. I have used them. Alex Newman and his family have used them. These are goat milk soaps and various soaps that they provide for your pets, for your laundry, for your body, for your hair. They have it. This is natural, all made in the U.S., made in Florida, as a matter of fact, from a great Christian homeschool family. These are natural, made from ingredients that you can actually pronounce. No harsh chemicals, things that are bad for your body that you don't even know how to say them. You don't even know what they are. This soap includes nothing of the sort. It's all natural. It's great for you. If you go to qpgoatssoap.com and use promo code Newman at checkout, you'll get 10% off your order. That is qpgoatssoap.com, promo code Newman at checkout for 10% off. And also want to tell you about our friend Robert Bortons and his podcast, Refining Rhetoric. A great partner of ours. We love to promote his podcast. He has some terrific guests on there. If you head over to refiningrhetoric.com, that's refiningrhetoric.com. You can also search for him on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, major podcasting platforms. Robert explores today's most pressing issues. If you want to talk about faith, education, business, culture, he brings in leading experts, household names that you would recognize, and talks about classical education, talks about things from a Christian worldview using time-tested principles that formed our country and form our faith as Christian believers. And this is a great tool to be able to be equipped about what's going on and understand the heart of complex topics and encourage listeners who seek truth in every aspect of life. So please tune in, go to refiningrhetoric.com, and you can find this great podcast, and we appreciate you checking out our sponsors. Back to the compilation video.
Catherine, and one of the big things that we like to do here on this show is give people things that they can do. rather than just sit there on your couch and stew and be upset and yell at the TV. We think you ought to become active. And you have some really good tools on the website, truethevote.org. In fact, your latest issue of your newsletter, Can You Volunteer from Home? I mean, we could have spent the whole show talking about this. You've got so many good ideas. Walk us through some of the things that the folks watching us or listening to us right now can do from their own home to try to secure our election.
Sure. Well, if you are at home, you still have such a vital role to play in getting the message out, and then, frankly, in just kind of cleaning up your own potential records. And let me describe how we help you do that. We have a program on our website. You can find it at truethevote.org. Click on Engage, and then down will come a whole list of projects you can work on. But one's called Scan, Check, Protect. If you're not already registered, you can get registered. If you want to check your registration, you can do it easily and make sure that everything is in good order, that it's active and ready to go. If you have ever moved from another state, we encourage you to go to states where you have previously been registered and check to see if you're still on the rolls. Oftentimes we find that people are, and sometimes we find that those registrations have been voted when the person no longer lived there. And we give instructions on how to have your registration removed. And then you can also, if you are in a position where you needed to request a mail-in ballot, you can also track your ballot. And all of that is right there in Scan, Check, Protect. Not only can you do this for yourself, but we think it is a great conversation starter to send out to family and friends and say, hey, this is not a comment on the politics of it all, but just make sure that your registration is ready to go. Make sure that the rolls are as clean as possible. And it's a great way to, again, emphasize the importance of participation this November. Just broadly picking people in your world. We have all kind of fun ways that we go about trying to sort of segment, who's in your neighborhood, but make it simple. Pick 10 people and reach out. Maybe you send them the Scan, Check, Protect link. Maybe you just reach out to them and say, hey, are you going to vote? Start that conversation. Be a thought leader in your social circles in getting the conversation going for participation. You can also clearly work on behalf of any party or candidate. They all need help. They are all trying to reach out to voters. And so that's another great way that you can help from home. And then maybe lastly, although there are many, many more ways I can mention, maybe the most significant of all, we've partnered with Intercessors for America, an amazing group of intercessor prayers who are a nationwide organization daily praying for the most pressing issues facing our country. And we've put together a map of voters that are undecided or don't usually participate. And we are encouraging people to go to this map and pick someone to pray over. And there are hundreds of thousands of voters that meet this profile. And, what a way to have your petitions heard in heaven. So many ways to serve. And you can find all of this, as Alex said, on our website. And we welcome the participation.
Yeah, folks, please do something. I mean, you may not be able to do all these things, but you can do some of them. And if you go to the website, truethevote.org, you've got make calls, right? You've got send emails or letters, send open record requests, clean voter rolls, educate yourself to inform others, gather some friends and neighbors, organize, and of course, pray. I love that. We need to make our requests known to our Father in heaven. You can donate. And of course, I love how you guys end here. Never, ever give up. We will never, ever give up. Absolutely. Catherine, we're almost out of time, but I have to ask you this. Save the best for last. I don't know what you're going to say, but can we trust the 2024 election?
I know, and certainly after all the things we've just discussed, it may seem like a pretty harrowing hope that we could trust it. I am very optimistic. I believe that, well, I don't even have to believe it. It's just a fact. Millions more Americans are awake and engaged now versus 2020. Observation and participation changes things. Will there still be bad actors? Yes. Are there still problems? Absolutely. But can we eclipse those problems by standing together now and doing the right thing? I think the answer to that is yes. Don't get me wrong. It is going to be a fight to the finish. And I can only imagine what awaits in these next few months. And I'm expecting, all manner of anything really. It's not going to be easy, but I do believe that when we get to November 5th, if we do see problems, then the saving grace, I guess you could say, is that unlike 2020, when we were caught a little short-sighted about how it might go, that's no longer the case. We are now being proactive and preemptive, and I think all of that together, combined with participation from citizens across the country, is going to be the difference. And I'm very hopeful. It's going to take all of us to do it.
Well, thank you all so much for watching that video. I want to leave you with a few places to go to get some more information. It's one thing to watch this and be upset and be angry, and that's a good thing because it is outrageous. But don't do nothing with your anger. Do something positive with it. Do something positive with what you've just heard. So I want to direct you to 3 different places where you can go to get more information, to learn more, to get some good talking points, to get some information to share with that friend, that neighbor that you need to talk to about issues, about politics, about what's going on in our country, have those meaty discussions, and actually bring some substantive answers, materials, action items to those. So the first one is to subscribe to the Liberty Sentinel Substack. You can find that at libertysentinel.substack.com. That's libertysentinel.substack.com. We have some great information over there that will help you. And we talk about election integrity over there, as well as many other important subjects. The other one is jbs.org/vote. That's jbs.org/vote. There you can find some great solutions, talking points, videos, action tools, ways to get in touch with your legislators who represent you, and some other great action items. And then finally, True the Vote, which was represented here with the great Catherine Engelbrecht, her organization, truethevote.org. That's truethevote.org. There you can find some great information to get involved, to help fight voter fraud, to help protect voter integrity. So thank you all so much for watching this video. I'm Andrew Muller here at the Liberty Sentinel. We appreciate you watching. Again, please take time to share this and have discussions with your legislators, your pastor, your friends about this very important issue, because our country's future depends on it. Thanks.